This is Ankush here from Alif Consulting. Welcome back in our partner enablement video series. In today's video, we will be going to talk about how to build and design Azure Firewall and application gateway for a virtual machine. Well, here is the agenda of our video. So we will be going to understand what is the network security is, and then we're going to understand how the traffic flow and discussions are will be going to there, and then we'll be going to walk you through with some of the reference architecture, like how you can place your firewall and application gateway in your network. And then we'll be going to cover an hub and spoke topology with Azure Firewall and application gateway. And then at the end, we'll be going to show you a little demo how you can have your application gateway and firewall deploy, and how you can have them in place and manage within your network. Well, let's quickly jump to the introduction. So let's understand first what is the network security, right? So network security could be defined a process of how you are protecting the resources to provide the only the authorized access, and restrict your resources, or protect your resources to uh, the attacks or unauthorized access, right? That's something is called a network security, right? The goal is overall goal is to ensure that only the required traffic should be allowed, right? And the same way you can do it in Azure, and Azure have a robust networking infrastructure to support the applications and service connectivity requirements. A network connectivity can be connected in any way. Either it can be connected between Azure to Azure, either it can be connected between Azure to on-premise, or either it can be connected to Azure to any third party or any other cloud services as well, right? And then there are some of the options that Azure offers in area of the network security, like Azure networking, network access control, Azure firewall, secure remote access and cross premise connectivity, availability zones, name resolutions, perimeter network architecture, Azure DDoS protection, Azure front door, traffic manager, and monitoring and threat detection. So all of these services and offering are available inside the network security for Azure. Well, in our solutions, what are the services has been used there, right? So in our solution, we have Azure Firewall, we have Azure Firewall Premium add-on, we have an application gateway, and then we have an application gateway uh, WAF, which is kind of application firewall. So Azure Firewall is simply a next generation firewall that's offer a NAT. Azure Firewall is completely managed, so we don't need to worry about like managing the OS, patching, stuff like that. It's completely managed and can be auto scaled, right? And it's provide all the features like filtering of the IP uh, traffic, filtering of the network IPs, internet protocols, UDRs, TCP, UDP ports, application based HTTP and HTTPS requests, SQL attributes. All of those things are available with the Azure Firewall. Now, what is the premium add-on? With the premium add-on, what you will be going to get? You will be going to get a features like IPS, IDS, TLS inspections, which are not included with the Azure Firewall standard version. Now, you have application gateway, which is a layer 7 service, and it's used to manage the web traffic, and it's a layer 7 load balancer, provide us the full reverse proxy that can do a secure socket layer encryption decryption both, and it do have a SSL offloading, which allow us to have our encryption and decryption applied on the application gateway level. With application gateway, what you can do, you can also use the Azure firewall, and at the same time it's also have the application gateway firewall, which provide you the protection against all the malicious activities, like the SQL injections, cross scriptings, DDoS, bot protections kind of thing, which is included with the WAF. WAF is kind of service which is or which is integrated with the application gateway. So you have a two SQs for application gateway, right? Either you can have a standard application gateway, which will not going to provide you any kind of web facility, but it will be going to give you the load balancing stuff for your application. But yes, if you need to have the web application firewall for your application, definitely you need to have your SQ with application gateway with the WAF. Well, how the traffic flow is going to be, right? How you need to decide. So there are some of the things or some of the questions which you need to raise while designing a solution, right? How the traffic is going to be like how your traffic is going to be travel from on-premise to internet to Azure, right? Either it's going to through the firewall, or either it's going to through the application gateway, right? If you say like the traffic basically which is coming for your applications is something is need to be filtered by uh, Azure firewall and the application gateway as well, that's something you can have, right? That's something you can do it. You can have your traffic landed on the application gateway, and then you can forward that traffic to Azure firewall, and from the Azure firewall the traffic can be filtered and send it back to the backend server, and then response can become according to the requirement. Same way, how exactly you want to route your traffic, right? So we talked about info that how the traffic is going to become inside. Now how the traffic is going to be outside. Either it's need to go from the firewall to application gateway and then to the internet, or you want to send it directly to the firewall to the from firewall to the outside. That's something you can do. And then a part of that, how your known HTTP traffic is going to be. Either it is going to be to the Azure firewall, either it's going to only with the application gateway. So these are the things, these are the flow which you need to think about it, and then accordingly you will be going to set up your application gateway and firewall in your virtual network, right? So let's first understand how your architecture is going to look like only with the Azure Firewall. So in this one, you will not going to get any kind of WAF, and you will not going to get any kind of load balancing stuff or balancing features. In this case, what exactly is going to happen? All of your requests will be directly going to come on Azure Firewall public IP, and from there the request will be get it forward to the application VMs, and the response is going to back on the firewall, and from the firewall the response is going to back to the client IP. In this case, only change which is going to be there is the UDR, because in this case the UDR basically which is going to attach on the VM is going to be for all the internets, and next stop should be your virtual appliance, which is the Azure Firewall. Now, why you need the UDR, right? So UDR is required to rewrite the default routes, because by default, when you create a virtual network, Azure add their predefined routes as a next stop is the virtual network gateway. To override that, we need to have a user defined route in which we forcefully sending all the traffic to the firewall, right? So that's how you can have your only Azure firewall architecture, in which all the requests, all the incoming and outgoing requests will be uh, coming in with through the firewall and going out through the firewall. The next reference architecture which we are going to talk about, application gateway only, right? In this case, you will be going to get application load balancing, and you will be going to get WAF for all of your HTTP or HTTPS traffic. Uh, but a part of that, none of other traffic will be going to the application gateway. All of the other traffic like the internet traffic will be directly going outside the VM, right? In this case, how the traffic is going to flow, the client is going to hit on the application gateway public IP with the domain name. Application gateway is going to get the information about what are the backend pools are there, and accordingly it's going to send the request to the backend VM, and then backend VM is going to send the request response back to the application gateway, and application gateway is going to serve that request to the front end client. And again, in this case, you have the SSL enabled also. If that is something you have enabled on the application gateway will take care of that. If you have enabled the SSL offloading or offloading on your application gateway, that something will be taken care by the application gateway. If you have enabled the end-to-end SSL also, That's something you can also do in this case, and application gateway and servers will take care of that as well. So these kind of things you can have implemented with application gateway only mode. The next step is firewall and application gateway in parallel, right? So in this case, what is going to be happen, like there is a two kind of traffic. Either you can have your all the traffic, web traffic, directly coming uh, from uh, uh, from uh, from application gateway, and the rest of the traffic will be routed through the Azure firewall. So in this case, what is going to be happen, right? It can provide you the WAF for HTTP traffic from internet and on-premise to Azure. It can provide you the protection against all the traffic which is going outside, because rest of the traffic basically which is going outside, or the non HTTP or HTTP traffic will be directly getting out from the Azure firewall. So in this case, how the flow is going to be, the application gateway is going to send the request to the application gateway, and then application gateway is going to send the request to the VM, and then VM is going to send that request uh, back to the application gateway, and from there the request will be getting out for HTTP traffic. Another traffic is, if any kind of internet traffic is there, VM will going to send the traffic to the firewall. Firewall is going to reach out to the internet, and then from there internet, whatever the response is going to come, the response will be going to come on the firewall, and firewall is going to forward that request to the VM. That's how you can have your firewall and application gateway in the parallel mode. In this case, it's going to serve everything. It can provide you the web, as well as can provide you the protection against all the other traffics like the internet traffic which is going outside from your VMs. Another thing is application gateway before firewall. So in this case, what is going to be happen, right? In this case, everything will be all the traffic which is for HTTPS is going to come on application gateway, and application gateway will be going to send the traffic to the firewall. Firewall is going to scan the traffic, and then from there it's going to send to the VM, and then whatever the response is going to come, that that request will be send it to the firewall, and firewall is again going to scan it, and then sending back to the application gateway, and then sending back to the client, right? This is how it's going to be. And in this case, there is a lot of complexity is there, because you have to create a lot of firewall rules to provide the connectivity to backend control plane to the application gateway, because gateway required to have the internet connectivity. Without that, it will not be able to connect it, and that's how you can do it. Or even with the newer application gateway SKU, which is a V2, you cannot have the UDR attached with the application gateway. If you are doing it, you need to make sure all the internet connection with the backend connectivity on the Azure should be working fine. Well, the next is application gateway after the firewall. In this case, what is going to be happen? It's going to protect you against the WAF, and then rest of the traffic will be going directly from the firewall. So in this case, how the traffic is going to flow, your request will be going to come on the firewall, and from the firewall, request is going to be on the application gateway is going to send the traffic on the VM. From the VM, response is going to came back to the application gateway, and from the application gateway, response is going to on the firewall is going to scan everything, and from there that request traffic will be going to forward to the client IP. So in this case, all the traffic is reaching to the firewall. Firewall is going to scan everything and sending back to the application gateway. Application gateway is going to scan the traffic using the web policies, and the traffic is going to come on the VM. And then accordingly, the same way, the VM is going to respond it to the application gateway, and then application gateway is going to respond to the virtual machine. Sorry, application gateway is going to respond to the Azure firewall. Hub and spoke topology, right? So this is the one of the highly used mechanism when you have a hub and spoke topology. So in last four scenario which we talked about, one of the highly used scenario is have your application gateway and firewall in parallel, so that your application gateway can manage all the layer 7 things like a load balancing the applications and doing the WAF, and rest of the traffic, internet traffic or non-HTTP traffic should be traveling to the firewall, and firewall is doing all of that scanning, right? Uh, in this hub and spoke topology, what is going to be happen? All the traffic is going to be come on your subnet gateway if the traffic is coming from the intranet or coming from the on-premise. If traffic is not coming from the on-premise, in that case, the traffic is going to hit on the application gateway, and from the application gateway, it's going to reach out to the backend VM, and from the backend VM, whatever the response will be there, that will be going to reach out to the application gateway, and accordingly, either its traffic is coming from the internet or either its traffic is coming from the on-premise over the VPN or express route, response will be sent it to the client machines. And at the same time, other traffic, other internet traffic or non HTTPS traffic will be directly coming from the in coming from the Azure firewall to the VM for inside, and same way it's going out from the Azure firewall also. So this is how it's going to be, and this is widely used use a mechanism with hub and spoke topology, because you are putting your firewall and you are putting your application gateway in parallel. So it's going to be give you the less overhead of management, because if you are putting your firewall and your application gateway before or after itself, it's going to be give you the complexity, because you need to manage a lot of things then within the firewall or within the application gateway. Well, how your on-premise connectivity is going to be. So with the on-premise connectivity, you have a two ways. Either you can have your traffic landed on the Azure firewall, and then from Azure firewall, it can go to the application gateway, or it can go to the backend VM, and then accordingly, vice versa, the response is send it back to the client machine. Or what you can do, you can have your application gateway or firewall deployed in parallel, and your application gateway is with WAF is going to do the stuff for HTTPS traffic, and rest of the thing for non-HTTP traffic and internet traffic or internet traffic will be managed by the Azure firewall. Well, let's move to the demo. So in the demo, I have a hub and spoke topology. In my hub and spoke topology, what is happen? My all the application gateway, firewall, and the VMs are deployed in different VNet. My VMs are deployed in Spoke, and my firewall and application gateway is deployed in the hub network. Now, if you go into the virtual network, you will be going to see I have two network deployed there. So if you go into the hub, in hub I have deployed application gateway and uh, and uh, and then the firewall. If you go into the connected device, you would be able to see what I have deployed it. So I have deployed the application gateway and firewall. In the same way, in my spoke, I have deployed two virtual machines. So in my management VM is not part of this not part of not part of the traffic traveling through the firewall, because I need to connect it to the public IP to show you the demo. So that's the reason. But my app VM is basically part of this hub and spoke topology, and all the traffic is routed to the Azure firewall. Now, if you go into the pairing, my spoke is already connected with hub, and same way my hub is connected with the is connected with the spoke, right? So let's quickly jump to the VM. So this is my app01 VM, which I have RDP'd through the management VM, because my management VM have the access of the internet. So if you go into the app VM and if you click here, you will see my known HTTP traffic of this VM is traveling through to the firewall. And if I go here and if I go the do the google.com, what is going to be happen? My traffic is going to be not allowed, because my firewall rules are not configured, and by default Azure firewall is denied for all the traffic which is going outside, right? Now if you go into the Azure portal, if you go back and if you go to the Azure firewall, you will see I don't have created any rules here. and that's the reason my firewall is not allowing us to access all the internet website and the google.com specifically, which I have browsed there. But at the same time, my firewall is going to allow all the traffic for the intranet. So my application gateway, which is deployed in the hub. So if I go here, if go to the application gateway, and if I use this application gateway public IP to browse the IAS sample website, which is hosted on my app01 VM, that something is going to be accessible because that something has been configured on the Azure VM. Uh, Looks like IP is not copied. Oops. Uh, so this is the IP of the application gateway. Now, if you go into this, if I hit on this one, this is going to give me the sample website of the VM, and this is the IS page because I have installed the IS with the default configuration. I have not installed any other application. Now, how the traffic is traveling, right? If you go into the application gateway, and if you go into the subnet where application gateway is deployed, you will see I don't have any UDR associated with the application gateway subnet, right? So in this case, what is going to be happen, right? Uh, all the my traffic is basically from the firewall is going independently, and for the application gateway it's going in a independent way. So because I have deployed my application gateway and Azure firewall in the parallel mode, right? If you see, I don't have any route table is enabled, but as soon as I have enabled the route table, what is going to be happen, right? The website is not will be not accessible, or even I can't even associate the UDR to the application gateway as I told you. Although you cannot do all the traffic from application gateway routed to the Azure firewall like 0.0.0/0 all the internet traffic, because application gateway required the access to the control panel, right? And this is how it's happening. Like application gateway is sending all the HTTP traffic from their from his own system, and then firewall basically used to monitor the non HTTP traffic. Well, that's it in the demo. I hope you like this video. If you like, please click on like and subscribe for more upcoming videos, and feel free to reach us if you have any questions. Thank you.